Assalamualaikum and hello everyone. We are from Group 9 are going to present about the Keynesian School Development Scene Scheme. My name is Nordiana binti Amir Faizul. My matric number is 267972.
Under the Keynesian School Development Scheme, there are several important economists like Alvin Hansen and Paul Samuelson. They help to move their version of Keynes' approach to economics directly into the mainstream of macroeconomic theory. This will cover in the first two sections. For the first one, it will cover Hansen's idea, and the second one would be Samuelson's ideas. For the third section, we will look at the ideas of post-Keynesian economics, who contend that the contemporary neoclassical synthesis, which is the synthesis between Keynesian macroeconomics and neoclassical microeconomics, which is not only seriously flawed but also incompatible with Keynes' own idea. For the last section, we will discuss about the ideas of new Keynesian economists. In the new Keynesian economists, we will be discussing about why the ideas of post-Keynesian is rejected, and then we will be refocused back about the attention on the traditional Keynesian and why recession has occurred. Alvin H. Hansen was born in Viborg, South Dakota. He has attended high school at Sioux Falls Academy and then enrolled at Yankton College. He was graduated in 1910. He has received his PhD from the University of Wisconsin in 1918 and teaching at Brown University and the University of Minnesota. At Minnesota, he published Business Cycle Theory in 1927. From that book, he has earned a reputation as being one of the nation's leading macroeconomic scholars. During 1937, 1 year after Keynes' publication of the General Theory, Hansen has joined the faculty at Harvard. He earlier had pointed out a mathematical error in Keynes' treatise on money, and his initial reaction to the General Theory was less enthusiastic. However, following deeper study of Keynes' system of ideas, Hansen soon changed his opinion. He and his students make Keynes' work and its policy implication the central focus of their fiscal policy seminar. Several of those attending the seminar has become prominent contributors to economy and public policy. Hansen's students included such prominent economists named F.C. Doma, John Dunlop, Walter Salon, Paul Samuelson, Paul Sweezy, James Tobin, and Henry Woolwich. During 1941, Hansen published Fiscal Policy and Business Cycle, which supported Keynes' analysis of the macroeconomics problem of the 1930s. He endorsed active and continuous policy by government to stabilize the economy. Because of his strong advocacy of government intervention to promote full employment, people had called him the American Keynes. Hansen's influence was international. 10 of his books were translated into one or more languages, totaling 29 translations. A guide to Keynes became familiar to thousands of graduate students who use it in their struggle to understand the more esoteric section of Keynes' The General Theory.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Muhammad Izzat Fahmi bin Abdul Aziz. My matric number is 252986. Point. The Higgs-Hansen synthesis. John Higgs published an important journal article about Mr. Keynes and the classic a suggested interpretation. He pointed out that Keynes' theory of interest rate and therefore his theory of equilibrium income was indeterminate. Higgs correctly noted that Keynes' liquidity preference schedule itself depends on the level of national income. At higher income level, people desire to hold more money to buy the greater volume of goods and service available. Higgs then suggested a way to resolve this interdependency and in so doing developed a unified economic model that synthesized the Keynesian and neoclassical perspectives. Today, we refer to Higgs-Hansen synthesis as ISLM model, just like this figure 21.3 and figure 21.2. Sir John Higgs was born in 1904 at Warwick, England, and he get education at Clifton College and Balliol College from 1917 to 1926. After he finished his education, he lectured at London School of Economics and Political Science, Cambridge, from 1926 to 1938 and became professor at University of Manchester. He received the Nobel Memorial Prize in Economic Science for his pioneering contributions to general equilibrium theory and welfare theory in 1972. The Higgs' most familiar contribution in macroeconomics was the Higgs-Hansen ISLM model that published in his paper, Mr. Keynes and the Classic Suggested Interpretation. The IS curve showed potential point of equilibrium in the goods markets, while the LM curve shows potential point of equilibrium in money market. So IS curve is good market, while LM curve is the money market. The equilibrium interest rate and level of income are determined where the IS and LM curve intersect. Hansen and others demonstrate that it is easy to add government spending and taxation to the ISLM model and use it to analyze the interest rate and income effect of alternative fiscal and monetary policy. So this is the IS curve, while this is the LM curve. The equilibrium interest rate at the level of income are determined where the IS and LM curve intersect, just like in the graph. This is the only combination of interest and income where there is equilibrium in both the good markets and the money markets. So the equilibrium rate of interest rate and level of income are I0 and Y0.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurul Najiha binti Sharum, matric number 254120. Assalamualaikum. I would like to present about Paul L. Samuelson, known as father of modern economics. Paul L. Samuelson was born in Gary, Indiana. After graduating at University of Chicago, Samuelson enrolled in the Harvard Graduate Program in Economics. At Harvard, Samuelson was catch-up in the beginnings of the Keynesian revolution. Therefore, Samuelson decided to apply mathematics to the body of economic theory. In 1947, he published a book which is the foundations of economic analysis. After that, Samuelson began searching for a university where could teach and continue his research. Finally, Samuelson took a position at neighboring Massachusetts Institute of Technology. MIT. However, he had excellent reputations in engineering and science, but not in economics at Massachusetts Institutions of Technology. He published numerous articles in the most prestigious economic journals. Many of these articles are highly mathematical. His articles cover such diverse topics such as consumer behavior, linear programming, capital and growth, economic technology, the history of economic theory, welfare economics, public expenditure theory, national income determinations, and fiscal and monetary policy. Samuelson, also known as the founder of modern economics, so he was recognized by countless professionals in the field, and his textbook, Economics, was familiar to millions of people who had taken college economics. In 1970, he was announced as the first American economist to be awarded the Nobel Prize.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Nurhanisa binti Anwar, metric number 256603.
Samuelson said that it is the interaction between the multiplier and accelerator that gives rise to cyclical fluctuations in the economic activity. A change in one of the components of aggregate demand, AD, can lead to a multiplied final change in the equilibrium level of GDP. As you can see in the diagram, the multiplier effect occurs because injections of new demand for goods and services into the circular flow of income stimulate further rounds of spending. How does it happen? This is because one person's spending is another person's income. Therefore, this will lead to a bigger final effect on national output and total employment. The process and investment can turn into an income and vice versa. As we all know, the formal calculation for the value of the multiplier is multiplier equals to 1 over sum of the propensity to save plus tax plus import. Based on the diagram, an increase in autonomous investment will increase income through multiplier. Then, the induced investment will also increase through accelerator. Therefore, the aggregate demand and income increase by even a large amount. In this multiplier effect process, we will focus more on the extra demand and incomes created. For example, the government injects $200 million in a project to build thousands of affordable new houses. Then, a new house building project injects $200 million of extra demand and output into the economy. What happens is many businesses will benefit directly, including the building supply industries, architects, and etc. Next, building new houses will generate a new flow of factor incomes, including the wages and profits. So the question is, will the extra income stay inside the circular flow of income and spending? The answer is yes. So the multiplier effect is likely to be strong and the resultant impact on GDP will be quite large. In order to illustrate the essence of Samuelson's approach, we will use the basic Keynesian identity, which is y equals to c plus I plus g plus x minus m. The most complicated equation is the one for c, which we derive as follows. C equals to A plus BY. The consumption will be lowered by taxes, therefore Y minus T. And when we expand with B, it will be C equals to A plus BY minus BT after the expansion. Since T equals to T0 plus Ty, so expand the BT part. And the last answer will be C equals to A plus BY minus BTO minus BTY. For the investment equation, we derive as follows. I equals to I0 plus ZY, where I0 is investment that is independent of income and Z is the marginal propensity to invest. The term Z then shows the change of investment that occurs when income rises, meaning to say, this is the accelerator notion. Other equations are G, X, and M. Take note, the total import spending depends on the level of income. We substitute each equation into the basic identity equation. Then, we derive the following complex income determination equation as follows. To solve this equation, we will divide these variables into two groups, which are the endogenous variables and exogenous variables. For the exogenous variables, we will put them at the right-hand side in a bracket. And as for the endogenous variables, we will make them as the denominator. YA is recognized as exogenous variable. This is because A represents consumption spending that is independent of the level of income. In conclusion, national income raises through the multiplier effects. It is possible to explain turning points in business cycle without resorting to special explanations. Pre-Keynesian theory of acceleration gave an exaggerated picture of an instability in the economy. Combination of the multiplier and the accelerator, which seems to be capable of producing cyclical fluctuations.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and good morning. My name is Muhammad Al-Hafiz bin Muhammad Adnan. My metric number is 265366 and today I'll be giving a presentation of the subtopic Post-Keynesian Economic. Post-Keynesian Economics by John Maynard Keynes. The post-Keynesian economic can be classified as the heterodox side. And this thinking also began to arise in the Keynes popular return, the general theory of employment, interest, and money. John Maynard Keynes is not the only reason behind the post-Keynesian establishment, since it also get influenced by the others person, as such Michal Kalecki, and there is a few more people. In this post-Keynesian economic, there are 5 major tenets that has been discussed. The first one is the view of production, value, and distribution. The second one is markup pricing. The third, endogenous money. The fourth, cyclical instability. The fifth, income policy. The first one is view of production, value, and distribution. This one is influenced by the Bureaucrafa. And this thing is published on the production of commodities by means of commodities, the publication which reconstructed Ricardo production and value theory. Believe that prices are not affected by the pattern of demand. The real prices of goods depend on necessary commodities to produce, and the relative prices and profit determined by the production technique used. John Robinson and the other post-Keynesian has brought Strauss's idea forward, and she started that actual distribution of income, that is wage and profit, depend on the class struggle. Argue that the society can control distribution of income through its desire, the socialization of investment, public ownerships, income policies by the government itself. And John Robinson called herself as a left-wing Keynesian, since her view is kind of difference between the others. Markup pricing. In the post-Keynesian economic, They believe that the prices is set by the oligopolistic cooperation. The oligopolistic firm finance largely on investment from their retained earning, that is profit. They set up their goal and profit until they set the prices above the current cost. The prices itself does not reflect demand, but it rather reflect the requirement planned investment expenditure. When the costs rise, the firm will eventually increase the prices to maintain their profit. Endogenous money. Endogenous money is the stock of money that is essentially to economic changes of it due to the response changes in level of wages, that is responsiveness. Keane has pointed that the money come into existence along with the debt. Inflation arises from the fight over the share of the distribution of income. Wage increase would cause the production cost to increase, as well to rises the demand for capital working. Business borrowing rises and the money stock shall increases. Cyclical instability. The economy is inherent state of unstable. To keep national income output, that is production, grow at a rapid rate, the investment must grow sufficiently. If the investment required is below the needed to maintain rate of growth, the economy will contract and unemployment will arise. Income policy. In income policy, we believe that limit the average annual wage increase. Firms are constrained as how much they can raise the prices. Successful income policy hold down inflations, and the class struggle for income share and the markup pricing by oligopolies necessitate a permanent income policy.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Hanisa binti Ishaq. My metric number is 267887.
For my part, I will present about the new Keynesian economics. The new Keynesian reject the neo-Ricardian value theory of the post-Keynesians. They also reject the post-Keynesians call for incomes policy, citing the resource misallocation resulting from this policy and the poor historical success of wage and price control in reducing inflation. Instead, they have pursued a narrower line of inquiry by refocusing their attention on the traditional Keynesian question of why recession occurred. According to the new Keynesian theories, decline in aggregate demand produced decline in real output and corresponding increase in unemployment because the price and nominal wage are inflexible downward. Suppose that price and nominal wages are perfectly flexible. So if you can see on the graph on your right side, initial equilibrium is at point A, which is AD1 intercept with AS1. If aggregate demand decrease from AD1 to AD2 and AS remain at AS1, the price level will decrease from P1 to P2, which is from point A to point B. Also, the real output will decrease from its full employment level Q3 to less than full employment output Q1. The lower price level and greater unemployment will enable producers to reduce nominal wages. Aggregate supply will shift rightward from AS to AS2. New equilibrium will be at C, which is AD2 intercept with AS2, and real output return to Q3, which is recession automatically ended. But, however, according to new Keynesian economists, price and nominal wages are inflexible downward. Based on the graph, instead of moving the economy quickly from A to B to C, A reduce in aggregate demand from AD1 to AD2 will move the economy from A to D, and the real output will decrease from Q3 to Q2. Because wages are inflexible downward, unemployment is associated with real output. Q2 will persist until return to AD1. To shift the AD2 back to AD1, active fiscal and monetary policy should be implemented. The new Keynesian economists such as Joseph Stiglitz of Stanford, Oliver Blanchard of Harvard, Stanley Fischer of MIT, George Akerlof of California, Berkeley, Assar Lindbeck of University of Stockholm, and Robert Jordan of Northwestern have offered several possible explanations for downward price and wage rigidity. So if you can see, there are 4 reasons for price and wage rigidity, which is menu cost, formal and implicit contracts, efficiency wages, and lastly, insider-outsider theory. For menu costs, a menu cost is the cost of firm resulting in changing its prices. Some firms must incur costs when they lower price. For example, a restaurant must print a new menu. Similarly, other firms establish and print new price lists, communicate the lower prices to customers, perhaps through new advertising, print and mail new catalogs, and reprice items held in inventory, where menu costs such as these are high, so firms maybe don't want to lower their prices even when they face with slack demands. Also, firms in oligopolistic industry must be concerned that unilateral price reduction may set off deeper cuts by rivals. Thus, when aggregate demands in the economy declines, price, which is at least for a time, may remain fixed, while output and employment falls. For the second reason, formal and implicit contracts. New Keynesian point out that workers often sign long-term contracts containing built-in nominal wage increases. Wage cuts simply are not an option when decline in aggregate demand, but unexpectedly occur instead. Firms lay off workers. Even when contracts are being renegotiated, workers are usually receive wage giveback. Union leaders elected by the majority of members often prefer layoff than wage cuts. Although many non-union workers do not work under formal contracts, these workers may operate under implicit contract, which is informal agreements. In other hand, invisible handshake. One common understanding may be that firms will maintain existing nominal wage during periods of slack product demands. If formal and implicit contract permeates the workplace, the declines in wages are not forthcoming as aggregate demand declines and recession occurs, which is unemployment increase. Efficiency wages. Wages higher than market wage paid to encourage higher output, rise workers' morale and reduce costs associated with turnover. In industry where the cost of replacing labor are high, efficiency wages increase labor productivity and decrease cost pay for the higher wages. The higher pay raises the relative value of job as viewed by each worker. It also raises the cost of being terminated or leaving. Firm paying efficiency wages will reluctant to cut wage rate in response to decline in aggregate demand because it will encourage shrinking and increase the number of job quits, deepening productivity and increasing the firm's per unit labor cost, which is lead to downward wage inflexibility and cyclical unemployment. For the last reason, which is insider-outsider theory, insiders are employed workers who possess some market power and outsider are the unemployed who are unable or unwilling to underbid existing wage rate to gain employment. The reason for this disparity is the firm incur labor turnover costs when they replace insider with outsider. Example of labor turnover cost: the cost of hiring, firing, and providing firm-specific training. Insider may resist competition with outsider by refusing to cooperate with or harassing outsider who try to underbid the wages of incumbent workers. When this happens, the firm's output and profit also will suffer. So that's all for my part. Thank you.
As for conclusion, several important economists like Alvin Hansen and Paul Samuelson helped move their version of Keynes' approach to economics directly into the mainstream of macroeconomic theory. Hicks correctly noted that the Keynes liquidity preference schedules itself depend on the level of national income. He suggested a way to resolve this interminacy and develop a unified economic model with Alvin Hansen that synthesized the Keynesian and neoclassical perspective. Today, we refer to the Hicks-Hansen synthesis as the ISLM model. Paul A. Samuelson identified and explored the interaction between the principle of multiplier and accelerator. He also identified the simple algebra of income distribution, the Philip curve, and the contribution as such comparative analysis, revealed preference theory, efficient market theory, factor price equalization theory, and the public expenditure theory. However, economists from the post-Keynesian did not accept the neoclassical synthesis. They denied both the ISLM interpretation of Keynes and standard macroeconomics. They proposed, among others, a new version of Ricardo's production and values theory and called for the implementation of income policy. The new Keynesian, on the other hand, reject the neo-Ricardian value theory of the post-Keynesian and the call for income policies. Instead, they pursue a narrower line of inquiry by refocusing their attention on the traditional Keynesian question of why recession occur. According to them, decline in AD produced decline in real output and corresponding increases in unemployment because the price level and nominal wages are flexible downward. Among factors contributed to downward price and wage rigidity, according to them, are menu cost, formal and implicit contract, efficient wages, and the insiders-outsiders theory. Thank you.